Halima Sadiya states, I arrived in Makkah in a state of distress, and immediately upon reaching Prophet's grandfather Abdul Muttalib, I said I had come to bring Muhammad ﷺ back tonight. However, when I reached at the upper area, he suddenly disappeared. By God, I do not know where he is. Upon hearing this, Abdul Muttalib immediately went to the Kaaba, prayed for Muhammad ﷺ's safe return, and then set out to search for him. Along with him was Warqa bin Nawfal. Their search eventually led them to the valley of the Khama. There, under a tree, they saw a young boy. The branches of the tree were very dense. Abdul Muttalib asked, Who are you, young man? Since the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had grown taller by that time, Abdul Muttalib could not recognize him. His height was increasing rapidly. In response, Prophet ﷺ said, I am Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, the son of Abdul Muttalib. Upon hearing this, Abdul Muttalib said, You are my dear life. I am your grandfather, Abdul Muttalib. Then they lifted him, embraced him, and tears flowed. They placed him on a camel and headed back toward Makkah. Upon arriving home, they slaughtered sheep and cows and invited the people of Makkah. After their return, Halima Sadiya went to Lady Amina and was asked, Halima, why did you bring the child back? You want him to stay with you longer, didn't you? Halima replied, He has grown up now, and by Allah's oath, I have fulfilled my responsibility. I constantly fear that some harm might befall him, so I prefer to entrust him to you. Lady Amina was surprised and asked, Tell me the truth, what happened? Then Halima recounted the strange events she had witnessed. She had seen several unusual and extraordinary occurrences, which left her deeply troubled. The event of the splitting of the blessed chest was the final straw that made her feel compelled to return it immediately. She described some of the incidents to Lady Amina, who then said, Once a group of Jews passed by me, claiming to follow the heavenly book, the Torah. I asked them if they knew anything about my son. They also inquired about the details of the birth of the Prophet ﷺ. Upon hearing the details, the Jews began to say, This child should be killed. Hearing this, Halima continued, They were advocating for his murder, and when they asked if the child was an orphan, I quickly gave an indication to my husband, saying, No, he has a father. Upon hearing this, her husband confirmed, if the child had been an orphan, they would have certainly killed him. This incident and the Jews' intention to harm the child added to Halima's concern for his safety, and she decided to return him to Lady Amina. They said this because they had read in their old scriptures that a final Prophet ﷺ would come and his religion would spread throughout the world. His message would be loud and clear, and there would be sign of his birth and childhood. Moreover, he would be an orphan. When Halima Sadiya told them that the child was not an orphan, they abandoned their intention to harm him, thinking that he might not be the one. Similarly, another incident occurred with them. Once, they took Muhammad ﷺ to a fair known as Ukaz market. In the times of Jahiliyyah, this fair was famous and held between Taif and Nakhla. Arab would come for Hajj and spend the month of Shawwal in this market, engaging in games, sports, and boasting about their lineage. Halima Sadiya was walking with Muhammad ﷺ there when a soothsayer noticed him. Upon seeing him, he recognized all the sign of prophethood in him. He cried out, O people, kill this child. Halima was frightened upon hearing the soothsayer word and quickly left the market with him. Thus, Allah protected the Prophet ﷺ from that threat. The people at the market Upon hearing the soothsayer searched for the child to kill him as instructed. However, they couldn't find any child there. And they asked the soothsayer, "What's the matter? Whom are you instructing us to kill?" The soothsayer replied, "I just saw a boy by the Lord of the idols. He will be the one to kill your gods, break your idols, and become victorious over all of you." These incidents reveal how divine protections and destiny shielded the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ from various threats during his early childhood. On hearing the soothsayer's proclamation at the market, the people frantically searched for the Prophet ﷺ, but their attempts were in vain. Meanwhile, Halima Sadiya was on her way back. Passing through the area known as Zil-Hijaz, there was also a fair being held there. In this marketplace, there was an astrologer who people would take their children for reading of their fortunes or future. As Halima passed by, the astrologer's gaze fell on Prophet ﷺ, and he recognized the marks of prophethood in him. He cried out, "O Arabs, kill this child. He will undoubtedly challenge the followers of your religion, break your idols, and become victorious over all of you." As he shouted this, he lunged at you, but at this very moment, he went mad and died in his madness. Another incident is mentioned in the Seerah Ibn Hisham. A group of Abyssinian Christians passed by the Prophet ﷺ when he was with Halima Sadiya, and they were on their way to return him to his mother. These Christians observed the seal of prophethood between the Prophet ﷺ's shoulder and the redness in his eyes. They asked Halima, "Is there something wrong with this child's eye?" She replied, "No, there's nothing wrong. The redness is a natural feature in his eyes." The Christians they said, "Then give this child to us. We will take him to our land. He is a prophet and hold great importance. We know everything about him." Upon hearing this, Halima quickly left, ensuring that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ reached his mother safely. The most significant event among these incidents was the cleaving of the Prophet ﷺ's chest. Narrations affirm that at that time the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had marks of surgery on his chest, just like how in contemporary times doctors use stitches after an operation, but the marks remain. After this event, Halima Sadiya and her husband decided that it was best not to keep this child any longer. When Halima Sadiya returned the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to his mother, he was 4 years old. One narration states that at that time he was 5 years old, and another states that he was 6 years old. Shortly after Halima returned the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to his mother, Amina passed away, and the shadow over her head lifted. The death of Amina took place at the location between Makkah and Medina known as Abwa. It was there that she was buried, and the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ along with his witness was present. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's mother then took him to Medina. He was accompanied by Ayman. Ayman narrates that one day 2 Jewish men from Medina approached her and said, "Bring Muhammad ﷺ before us. We wish to see him." They looked at him closely, and then one of them said, "This is the Prophet ﷺ of this ummah, and this city is his place of migration. There will be a great battle here, and many prisoners will be taken." When the Prophet ﷺ's mother learned of this conversation with the Jews, she became fearful and decided to take him towards Makkah. But on the way, at the location of Abba, she passed away. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ then taken back to Makkah. These events highlights that the extraordinary and miraculous aspects of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ early life, foretelling his profound destiny as the last Prophet ﷺ of Islam.